Welcome back, everybody, to another C3 Gaming episode. I am CD3 Daddy.
And I am C3DG Minecraft.
And today we have something exciting to show you. It is a new Shulker Loader. This Shulker Loader is going to give you full access to the contents of your Shulker box without having to break the Shulker box. Alright, now let's talk about this Shulker Loader real quick before we show you how to build it. The nice thing about this Shulker Loader, and the reason that we revamped the old dropper version that we featured in the 3706 storage tutorial, is the fact that we can now open the Shulker box without having to break the Shulker and inspect the content. What will happen, and typically why your Shulker Loader breaks, is because you will have a random miscellaneous item get trapped inside of the Shulker box, which prevents the box from ever reaching a full signal strength of 15. The signal strength of 15 is what causes the comparator to read the output and tell the system to replace it with a new Shulker box. So you no longer have to wonder why your Shulker box isn't breaking. You can just open it up and look in. The second new feature is we have added a button to easily break and replace the Shulker box with a new one. And the last thing that we changed that was slightly different is this bottom fence gate, leaving it in the open position, of course, so the item can clip through. But this is what allows the Shulker box to be placed upright so you can inspect the contents. So let's go ahead and check to see what's inside. There is currently nothing. I will fill it up almost all the way full. We'll go ahead and do 32. And I'll add the rest. And you'll see that very quickly it dispensed it and broke the Shulker box, which drops straight down into a water stream off to your storage system. So let's get building. Alright, before we get started, we are going to go ahead and build off of the existing Shulker Loader that we already have in place, and you can see that it is elevated above the ground, simply to give us the option of doing the water stream without having to dig down. However, this can be built directly on the ground, and you can put your water stream underneath, which is what we have typically done in the past. So what you're going to do is you're going to start out by building a 6-block platform, which is 2 wide and 3 long, and you're going to extend the backside off of the first block by 1. You'll see that it is an exact copy of the one to my left. You are going to hop up on top of it. You're going to grab yourself a redstone block, and you're going to place it in the furthermost corner. You are going to place another block, building block of choice. It doesn't matter whether it's glass. I just like to be able to see the components when I'm building this out. You're going to place a block right in front of your redstone block. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to add a comparator and a repeater. Now the comparator has to look into a solid block, so this does need to be a non-transparent block, so you can't use glass there. So what we are going to do in this video, we're just going to use cobblestone. It's going to go right in that middle block on the side that your Shulker box is going to be loaded from. And looking into that solid block is going to be that comparator. Right next to the comparator, we are going to place a repeater on a 2-tick. Now this can be a 2, a 3, or a 4 tick, but it cannot be a 1 tick, so make sure that you at least click it once. You are going to place a solid block on the back side of your comparator, so the comparator will power the solid block when it reaches a signal strength of 15, which we are ensuring with this redstone block. And on the front side of our repeater, we are going to place an observer. The redstone output of the observer does need to be facing away from the repeater, because the repeater is what will trigger that observer. The next thing we're going to need is redstone dust. You are going to place 1 behind the repeater and 1 on top of the solid block. As you can see, they are currently connecting. That is technically okay, but what we want to do is we want to go ahead and break that connection so we can add a button on top. This button will allow us to automatically trigger the Shulker box if for whatever reason it has ghosted or you just need to replace it. Once you have this outline, currently we are going to place a couple more blocks. The first one is going to be a solid block, which will sit directly on top of the solid block we already placed, and this is going to be what we transmit the signal to for our sticky piston. So go ahead on top of the solid block, place another solid block, and then on top of that place a piece of redstone dust. And we are just about done. The last and final component for the back side of our shulker loader is one more observer. And the easiest way to place it is to crouch off the corner of your loader and look directly at your redstone dust, making sure that the face of the observer is looking at the redstone dust, powering the solid block. Your shulker loader should look like this, which is the basic component of your shulker loader completed. Moving to the front side of your shulker loader, we are going to find that observer that we have already placed down. We're going to look to the side, and we're going to place a dispenser on top of the observer, making sure that as you do, the face of the dispenser is looking towards the solid block. This is where your shulker will be dispensed, so just make sure that that is where your dispenser is facing. You are going to want to place a fence gate directly underneath the solid block, right in front of your dispenser, and make sure that it is open. That is very important. It will cause your shulker box to go all kinds of different places if you do not open it. After you have done that, place a hopper on top of the dispenser and place a chest on top of the hopper. Hop down, and you are going to shift click into the side of your chest. If you have done that correctly, your sticky piston should be level with the redstone dust on the uppermost solid block. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to place a slab. The word escaped me there for a second. Place a slab on top of the solid block. It's going to be a top slab. Easiest way to do it is just look at the face of your sticky piston and place it there. You'll see that it is occupying the uppermost half of the block next to it. At this point, you are going to need a shulker box. So on top of your fence gate, you're going to crouch down, place a shulker box on top of the fence gate. If not, you're just going to open and close the fence gate, so you do need to crouch. Place a shulker box on top. The other thing that you could do is you can actually go ahead and fill up this chest with your shulker boxes. That is perfectly fine to do. And once you do that, you can click the button, which will kind of make sure that your system is working. If it is, it will dispense the shulker box, and you're ready for the next step, which is extremely simple. You place a hopper into the side of your shulker box with a chest on top of the hopper. We have three more items to add. That is a hopper into the front of the shulker box with a hopper on top of that. Hop over onto that hopper and place one last and final hopper into the chest. And that is it. That is the entire shulker loader. Again, this is tileable in the sense that they can go right next to each other. There is going to be a gap in between. What I typically do with this gap, I usually just add another hopper. That way, every bit of the space that my water stream is flowing across is going to pick up items. No reason to leave it hanging with a solid block or even packed ice, because we will typically use iron bars. All right. Now that we have two shulker loaders, we can continue this as long as you want, but the issue with most shulker loaders is the fact that they are extremely long the more that you have to add on to it. So what we like to do is we actually like to mirror these back to back. And the reason we like to do that is because we can do a single item stream underneath and run our items aligned between two sets of hoppers. So we are going to go ahead and do that now. These are going to be spaced apart by 2 blocks as far as the platform is concerned. So what I always do is I go to the furthermost loader and I place 2 blocks, place 2 more blocks, and then I'm going to build out my 3x2 platform. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and since this is mirror imaged, you can refer to the back of your loader, but it is going to be the outside in the orientation that I have built this. We are going to do the same thing as before. It doesn't matter which what items you do first. You can do redstone dust on the outside corner, repeater on a 2-tick with an observer looking into the repeater. You are going to place a comparator, which I have conveniently deleted out of my inventory. Place a comparator next to my repeater. You are going to need your solid block. Let me grab that real quick. Place a solid block in front of the comparator, a solid block on top of that solid block, and you are going to need a redstone block next to your comparator. So as you can see, we are just doing an exact mirror image of what we did on the other side. On the back side of your comparator, remember we are going to place a solid block, and we are going to add redstone dust on top, breaking the connection between the two pieces of redstone dust with another solid block. Colin, if you could go ahead and grab a button and place it on top. Hop on top of the observer that we have already placed in front of our repeater, crouch, look into that redstone dust, place the second observer, again with the face looking into the redstone dust, powering the solid block, and place redstone dust on top of that. You can hop over or hop down, however you want to do it, and we are going to place our dispenser. The dispenser is going to look in the same direction as the opposite side. So again, that is towards our solid block. Look at the front of the observer, placing down the dispenser. Hop back on top of your shulker loader, place a repeater into the top of your dispenser, following it with a chest. This is going to be where we load our shulker boxes, but it is best to place that now so we can easily drop down, crouch, and place your sticky piston. Again, looking into the side of the chest, place the sticky piston, and then place a top slab on the face of your sticky piston. Grab your fence gate, place it on top of the glass block underneath the solid block and dispenser, and open it. Again, we can add some shulker boxes into the chest or the dispenser, and click the button to make sure everything is working. And if it is working, you will now have a shulker box to continue adding your hoppers. So place a hopper on both sides of your shulker box, a hopper on the furthermost hopper with a chest, and a final hopper into the chest. And that is a mirror image of your shulker loader. Again, you can always add another hopper into the side of the hopper to eliminate any wasted space. Now, I didn't note this earlier, but be sure not to accidentally place the hopper facing into the hopper going into the dispenser, because that is for your shulker boxes. So make sure that you point it into the right one. And you would just follow this pattern as long as you want. You can go, we are going to be featuring this in our Duck V4 Pickle Farm storage tutorial, so this can be as little or as long as you want, but as you can see, the footprint is going to be extremely small for 4 shulker loaders. So we are going to build out the fourth one real quick, and then we will move on to how to get the shulker boxes into your storage. All right, we have built out the rest of our shulker loader system. This particular example is going to be 6 shulker loaders. Now remember, this is a double hopper shulker loader, but we added an additional hopper to pick up items that may have passed by. So now that we have a way to get items into the shulker loaders, let's briefly talk about how we can item align to get these items properly into your shulker loader. Now, like we typically do, we are going to be grabbing some iron bars, and just as an example, I'll go ahead and cap off the back of this. It doesn't have to be identical because each example is going to be slightly different. When you are item aligning, the issue that you run into is items tend to get stuck in hoppers because there is a hitbox that does allow items to get stuck in the very center. To prevent that from happening, what we typically do is item align in between the 2 hoppers. We have an item stream or water stream tutorial that you can reference, but we use the zigzag method. And what that means is we use iron bars, and we have one water stream on one side, and as that water stream ends, we will shift to the other side, and we will do a second set of iron bars. So let me go ahead and cap off the back side of this as well. Now, when you are building out your water stream, you want to make sure that you don't break any of your redstone components. The only time that is an issue is on this lower chest that your items flow through. So what I typically do is I just add glass blocks on top. That way I can access the chest from the backside if I need to. And it contains all the water. And then you would just place your water on top of your shulker loader. This is not the only method, but this is the method that we prefer. Now that we have a way to get items into your shulker loader, we have a shulker loader. We need a way to get these shulkers that are filled with pickles or moss or whatever you're using into a storage system. Now this is extremely customizable because it is floating in the air. What we typically do is we have one giant water stream. Now, when you are doing your water stream, you need to make sure that you have a 1 block gap beneath your open fence gates because we want to have water flowing underneath. So if you have your shulker loader built up in the air, or if you have it built on the ground, either place a platform underneath. It doesn't have to be 1 block. It could be multiple. It could be up to 6, 7, 8 blocks. It doesn't really matter. But you do need to have at least a 1 block gap. So dig down or build up. And what we are going to do is we are just going to build out a platform underneath as an example. We are going to extend our walls down to contain all of the water. Once you have a platform that is completely contained, there are, again, multiple ways of doing this. The one that we prefer is just placing water on that back wall, running at 8 blocks, and then having a single water item stream that will take your filled shulker boxes to your storage system. Again, extremely customizable. This is probably the easiest method. Now, we will be using this shulker loader in our Duck V4 tutorial on storage. So what we have actually done is slightly different. So let me get rid of this water. Instead of sending it out lengthwise, because the more shulker loaders you add, the further your render distance has to be. So we have actually added 2 shulker loader systems side by side. So we are going to build out our platform towards the side of our shulker loader. Now, some of the feedback that we have had on this system is that it uses a lot of water, and it does. However, it cuts back on hoppers. It gives you more hoppers that you can use inside of your farm instead of in your storage system. So there is a trade-off, but what we are going to do is we are going to run the shulker boxes out the side. And you'll see in the tutorial that we have another one right next to it, which will meet in an item stream in the middle. If you build it out to the side, you do need to cap off your wall. So wherever you finish building your shulker boxes at, just go ahead and add a wall there. You shouldn't have enough momentum to get over this wall, but we like to do it as a kind of a fail-safe, because you worked hard for those farmable items. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, just to make sure that no shulker boxes pop up on my wall. And then I'm going to hop down into my farm. And I'm actually going to break out beneath the redstone so I can get in and out. And I'm just going to place water along this back wall. And once you have your water stream exiting your shulker loader, once again, you can transport those shulker boxes any direction that you want and take it towards your storage system. Now, if you have not opted to build shulker loaders back to back like we have, and you have only built one side, that is perfectly fine. You do need to add a wall to contain your item stream and to keep those shulker boxes from popping out. And what we do is just build out 2 blocks until we are 1 block away from our hopper. And you just continue this wall all the way, and you build the item stream exactly like you would on the double side hopper, or the double side shulker loader. And I'm going to do that now by placing 2 blocks for my platform. And then building up, or rather building down my wall to contain the water. And now you have shulker boxes exiting your shulker loader into your item storage. So again, it's extremely customizable. There is no right or wrong way to do it. I've seen several variations of it. All of them work extremely well. The one that I wouldn't recommend is one that is floating above a huge platform of water. It was kind of hilarious and more of a joke, but it just shows that it really depends on how creative you are. So follow our suggestions or come up with your own. The nice thing about this is the customization. All right, now let's talk about an issue with DonutSMP. DonutSMP currently is having an issue with ghosting shulker boxes. Now, it could be an entity limit issue. It could be server lag. We don't really know what is happening, but on some of the other shulker loaders, what is happening is the shulker boxes are being broken, They are seemingly being replaced, but they are not actually there. So you have to go up and right-click it, or you have to go up and try to break it, and the system will break until you manually intervene. All right, so let's talk about how we can prevent some of those ghosted shulker box issues. Now, with this shulker loader, we actually can build in some server protection by simply adding a row of glass behind, or any building block, behind the redstone dust with the repeaters. What we are going to do, just simply add a row of glass and place redstone dust on top. Now you will notice that it does connect the redstone dust to the dust behind the observer, and we actually don't want that to be connected, because when any shulker box breaks, it will trigger all of the connected shulker loaders to break as well, which will end up filling your storage with empty shulker boxes or partially filled shulker boxes. So what we're going to do is we're going to break the connection by adding a solid block on top. It does need to be a solid block. If you tried to use glass, you can see redstone passes through glass. So make sure that you are using a solid block. And that is all you need to do. Whenever a shulker loader triggers, it will try to dispense, and only dispense, it won't break. It will try to dispense a shulker box on any of the connected shulker loaders. So if you have a shulker loader that ran out of shulker boxes and you don't want to go in and add it, by simply placing shulker boxes into the system, it will automatically dispense the next time one of the adjacent shulker loaders triggers. But what also happens if the shulker box is ghosted, it will send an update to the server that you are attempting to place a block in a position that is currently showing a shulker box, and the server will say, oh, there's actually not a shulker box there, and it'll let you dispense it. So instead of manually going through and clicking a button or breaking the shulker box and adding a new one, whenever one of the adjacent shulker loaders triggers, that should fix your ghosted shulker box. So if you are experiencing that issue in DonutSMP or any other SMP, you can add this little bit of server protection. It does extend your shulker loader out by a block, but I think that is worth it for not having to manually intervene with your shulker loader system. And again, if you are in a single player world, this is definitely not required. Once again, and we can't say this enough, thank you for watching another one of our C3 gaming tutorial videos. If this was helpful and you plan on building this in your base, leave a comment, let us know. If you've experienced the terrible issue with the ghosting shulker boxes and this has helped you, let us know as well. If you are still having problems with the build, or maybe there wasn't something that quite made sense in this tutorial and you need help, we do have a link to our Discord in the description. Go ahead and join our Discord, open a ticket, and myself, C3DG Minecraft, or one of our many mods will be available to help you. I am CD3 Daddy.
And I am C3DG Minecraft.
And we will catch you in the next video.